Fashion poses in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are kinda like Kojima games and weird-ass boss fights. They just go together. And in the latest part of JoJo, the JoJoLands, the main JoJo, Jodio Joestar, that was way too many Joes. What I'm trying to say is that the newest main character, for the relatively short amount of time we've known him, has already spawned one of the series' most iconic poses, commonly referred to as the absolute cinema pose, due to its striking likeness to the meme of film director Martin Scorsese, with his hands up and the caption, "Absolute Cinema," which in the past few years has become common internet vernacular and is generally used to express admiration towards something. And due to the meme's compositional similarities to Jodio's pose, it's been heavily co-opted in a playful way by fans of the manga, placing Jodio within the meme or just using the meme to express their thoughts or excitement for new chapters. And since the popularity of the original meme emerged around the same time JoJoLands began, I've seen readers who actually think this is what Jodio's pose is referencing, and I constantly get comments asking, why is Jodio hitting the absolute cinema pose? And I mean, it's not the worst question I've ever gotten, and does spark curiosity, as it's turning into one of, if not the most reoccurring pose in JoJo. I'm sure we can all think back to some of the most iconic poses, Giorno or Jotaro, but how many times were those poses actually repeated? Not often, but in just 24 chapters, Jodio and Dragona have been drawn nearly a dozen times in different variations of this pose, which begs the question, why, and what the hell does it mean? So JoJoLands is a story all about rising upwards, in material wealth as proclaimed in the first page, but also in character, as Araki has bluntly stated before that Jodio and his crew are scumbags that do scummy things, and part of the journey will be seeing the character grow and mature into a more virtuous person. So the whole theme of the part is the characters getting rich, but in more ways than one. And Jodio's pose of his hands pointed upwards is a representation of his potential to grow in the general trajectory of the story, which is the simplest way to explain it, but it actually has way more depth and connections to the character, his stand, and other elements of the part, like volcanoes, which sometimes erupt as a result of many different systems working together like a natural mechanism, which causes lava to spew upwards out of the volcano. And in the first page of the manga, Araki draws Jodio approaching an erupting volcano, and again during his monologue about mechanisms for purely symbolic purposes, with Jodio even jumping into the air with the lava. So in a way, Jodio himself is a volcano. Symbolically, someone with the potential to change and erupt and reach higher through the reactions that come as a result of a mechanism, which in Jodio's case is a lava rock that gives the character the agency to climb higher, which came from a volcano. And just looking at the character on the cover of Volume 1, where he's doing his upward cinema pose, we can see a volcano behind him. And his hood is up, which he usually doesn't wear, but when he does, it gives him roughly the same silhouette as a mountain, creating a visual similarity between the two. And even more shapes in Jodio's design have symbolism of rising, like the very distinct flap in the middle of his face. If you just complete the shape a little bit, it's clearly an arrow, and there's another one at the bottom, which is the most common visual motif of the part. They're everywhere, which is one of those design elements from Araki that I just love. It might not be something you obviously recognize, but is still an expression of the character that's so well incorporated into their design, it's almost hidden in plain sight. So when viewing this pose as a whole, you can see that everything is pointed upwards, and compositionally, Jodio is placed in the middle of the actual volcano. Maybe to say his character is like the lava that has the potential to shoot upwards. But then you have Jodio's stand, November Rain, which contrasts a lot of those design elements and themes, where its ability is the exact opposite of lava and rising upwards. Instead, it produces rainfall that forces things downwards with heavy droplets. So it's still very early in the story to discern that much information about the intent between stand and user. Back in part 8, it took nearly the entire story for us to fully understand Josuke's soft and wet. But considering the stated purpose of part 9 is for Jodio to change, I would expect that to be reflected in his stand. So I think the contrast November Rain introduces is definitely intentional, almost to say Jodio is fighting against himself, what his nature is versus what it takes to be a good person, as his pose and design are symbolic of his trajectory and what he could be, while November Rain is a reflection of who he is right now. And does it really mean you're rising if you just never change and force everyone below you? which is how he's been using his stance so far. So we could see Jodio learn new ways to use his rain, or truths behind its ability that recontextualize its perceivable powers, as something as historically divine as rainfall could easily find its way to reach the highest tier of stand powers. So while the whole concept of rainfall kinda contradicts the upward symbolism of the pose, it still has a connection, as the pose contains a double meaning, with other variations of it referencing a Hawaiian rain dance, which is appropriate considering the part setting of Hawaii and Jodio's power to literally make it rain, which is less symbolic and more of a direct reference to Hawaiian culture. So I just thought all of the elements of this pose worked extremely well together and surprisingly connects what many view as a meme pose to nearly every aspect of the story, the characters, abilities, themes, and setting. So when viewing this pose with all of those understandings, I hope you can see that it truly is absolute cinema. So thank you all for watching the video. I know it's something shorter, very specific topic, definitely something different, but let me know if you'd like to see more stuff like this on really anything JoJo related. And of course, like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe for more, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.